Hi, my name is Lawrence Woods, and I'd like to introduce you to the equipment that we use in the quantum alignment technique classes. I've had a number of requests through the website. So what do these things look like, and what are they made of, and what do they do? So I'm going to do a very brief review over these devices. So we had a set of original devices originally, but they've been new and improved now, and they have new properties as well from the older devices. So let's start with all of these things now that we have. The blue pads, the clips, the green squares, the red squares, and the salt. They all produce a protective energetic field. And I put this field into them. It comes from the quantum field, which we talk about in the QAT class. But when you are working with a client, whether you're doing manual therapy on a client or you're doing energetic therapy on a client, what happens is there's a certain amount of transference of energies, and some people have very sick or toxic kind of energies that can be transmitted to you. These have a protective field in them so that transfer doesn't really occur. And so it protects you as the therapist. It also produces a nice energizing field for the therapist holding these devices as they're working in their clinics. So that's one of the new features in the equipment now. So the blue pads, which you see here, and the blue pads, they are this size, and they're made of anodized aluminum on the outside, so it doesn't tarnish or have problems. They're easy to clean, soap and water. There's no electromagnetism with these things. They don't stick together, so they're not magnetic, and they have no electronics in. There's no batteries, there's nothing for upkeep on these things. Unlike a lot of other things, we don't have to do anything for these. And so they are quite interesting when we use these things. So a couple of things we use the blue pads for is to do what we call trauma neutralization technique, to remove the impact of trauma on people's tissues. Trauma is one of the main reasons why people don't completely heal in many cases, or don't heal at all. Carolyn Mace, in her book, Why People Don't Heal, mentions there's these factors why people don't heal. There's this retained trauma. And so this neutralizes the trauma and allows then the tissues to start healing themselves. Now the blue pads are permanently infused, and you don't need any re-updates on them or anything like that. And they also talk to each other. So quantum entanglement, you may have heard of this. Quantum entanglement was something that was discovered over 100 years ago, where two or more things, it used to be just subatomic particles that could communicate with each other, independent of time and space. And when Einstein was presented with this, he goes, well, it's real, but it's spooky. And the 2022 Nobel Prize went to a group of scientists, physicists, whose research was on quantum entanglement. And they still, 100 years later, they know it's real, but they don't know how it works. But we use that principle of quantum entanglement in some of the processes we do in the QAT therapies. So that's some of the things we do with this. We also can connect the tissue. Let's say a person's had an accident or a stroke or something, and the muscle's not connected to the sensorimotor cortex of the brain anymore. These do that. So you can test someone and the person cannot actualize that muscle or do it very little contraction. And then we do our little process, which takes a few seconds at most, and then we test again and the muscle works. it is able to contract again. So we can show in real time this type of reconnection to the brain. We also use these things for infusion into water from gemstones and herbs and things like that. The energetic properties of these substances can be infused into water, and you can make tonics for yourself and for your clients with the use of these. So there's a number of things we do with the blue pads, and can't live without them. We also have a set of 6 stainless steel clips, and they're quite powerful clips. What they do, the same thing as the blue pads, they have the same kind of energetic connections to the quantum field, but we can put them on people's bodies to help them move better in space. You have somebody who can't walk very well, or let's say they're even a top Olympian athlete, and you put these on there, they're able to better utilize their coordination skills in their events. And so you can help someone to retrain their body to move better, or you can improve existing sports skills with these clips. We can also do remote treatments with the clips. We ship some of them to our client, and we keep a couple because these are quantum entangled as well, and they communicate with each other regardless of distance and space. And so we use them in the remote work. Moving on to the green squares. The green squares, we use these for several purposes. One is they are tuned to the quantum field to help treat acupuncture meridians and acupuncture points. So even if you're, let's say, not an acupuncturist, you can do pretty good treatment with these by getting the meridians to flow again really well. And you can also place them on touch acupuncture points for a short time and to activate those. If you're an acupuncturist, be aware that you can use these instead of needles, especially for your clients that are needle phobic. Some people don't have enough energy to accept needles into them. Some people, because of their frailness, little children, babies, and animals may not appreciate needles, but these can do the job that the needles do. And they infuse information from the quantum field into these points and meridians. The other thing we can actually do with this is we can activate and affect the nervous system with these. We can trace nerves with them along the nerve track to improve. I've used it for neuropathy purposes. Not in all cases of neuropathy, especially when the nerve has been completely dead, but in many cases you can trace them. You can also trace the acupuncture meridians, as I talked to just a few minutes ago. And you can hold them in people's heads. You can use more than one at a time. And most people, even your most earthbound clients, when you hold them next to their head, they can feel the field from here, what the emission is, and they feel like a warmth or a tingling in their head. And sometimes they see colors as well. And so they're quite useful for taking care of nerves and acupuncture meridians. And we have another one now, a red square. And these are also, both of them are anodized aluminum like the blue pads. The red square is developed for inflammation. So let's say a person has an inflamed joint of some sort, not infected, we don't treat infected areas, but an inflamed joint, we just hold it over it or touching the joint for a while, and it will reduce the inflammation. We see this happen time and time again, like sunburns. It might take, for this process for inflammation, it actually takes a few minutes. And it's not a few seconds like the other things we do. And we hold it over the area or through a cast. Let's say there's a broken bone, so we can help with that, with the inflammation and swelling inside the cast, as long as it's not infected. And we can also reduce the effects of sunburns in real time. So that's what we do with the red squares. one more thing we use in the class, we use this special infused salt. And it doesn't take very much. This little packet treats about 2,000 treatments. So it's we only sell this for like $15, and we put like 2 or 3 of these crystals of salt into a misting bottle, and we mist the person. Why would we do that? Sometimes people have intense emotional states that's hanging out in their auric field, and this mitigates that for a time, so we can do good testing and treatment on someone. So it's not a permanent cure for that, but it helps to reduce the noise in the nervous system, so that we can do good testing of our clients. The other thing it can do is close portals. If there's an unwanted portal in someone where they can get influence from other beings, we can close the portals and also reduce the influence of them on the person who might be mentally affected by these open portals. So the other thing that we do with the in class is we have a really powerful neodymium magnet that we use. We use this for testing purposes. It's not a QAT device per se. It doesn't have any infusions or entanglements or anything like that. It's a simplified way of doing certain kinds of tests when we're trying to find out what's going on with our clients. We do have a couple items which you can see in another video, and it's about the QAT Life Pendant and a sticker we use to mitigate the effects of electromagnetic fields on our bodies, in our clients' bodies. We can put them on computers and cell phones and things like that. They're very, very inexpensive, and you can watch that video for those items, the QAT Life Pendant and the QAT EMF Harmonizer is what it's called, the video. But this is what we use and teach in the QAT classes, and I hope this brief introduction, gets your curiosity up and maybe also answer some of your questions about these devices.